Hello, welcome again to the Union Pacific Railroad Geneva Subdivision. My name is Daryl Cruz, owner and builder of the layout, and your host for episode 16 of season 2020. This is another operations video, this time on Intermodal train ITAAH5. I for Intermodal, TA for Tacoma, Washington, where it originates, and AH for Ashland Yard in Chicago, where it terminates. And 5, just because there's a lot of trains that travel between these 2 points. The ITAAH enters the Geneva subdivision in Clinton, Iowa, from the West Staging Yards, which you just saw a little bit ago. And from Clinton, we're of course going over the Mississippi River Bridge. I think I've done this particular train before, or one very similar to it. The reason I'm doing it a second time, or again, is because I just finished some weathering in the Global 3 Intermodal Yard, and so I thought I'd like to see how the operations looked with a little bit more realistic weathering. So this is operations of train ITAAH5. From Clinton and across the Mississippi River, it travels across northern Illinois, and here we see it entering the town of Franklin Grove. After I finish working on Rochelle, I think I'm going to tackle Franklin Grove next. You can see the grain silos need a little bit of work, and of course roads and maybe a few more trees and other details. Now the train is approaching Global 3, which is on the outskirts of Rochelle. And as you can see, the paving area of Global 3 has been weathered with cracks and with pan pastels weathering. Definitely looks a lot better. Not only has the pavement been weathered, but also the concrete barriers and the check-in, check-out booth and the sheds, and just everything blends in so much better. Doesn't stand out like it used to when everything was so shiny and new. Train ITAAH is entering Global 3. You start out on the track 1 of the main line, which is the left-handing track if you're going eastbound. And as you can see, it's crossing over twice. Crosses over once to get to track 2, and then there's just a little bit of straightaway, about 12 inches, and then you have a second crossover that it takes to get into Global 3. Now you can see there's some engines there waiting on track 2. That's a coal train, which we'll see departing in just a bit, but it had to stop here at milepost 85 so that the intermodal train could cross over and enter the Global 3 yard. It continues to pull forward until it clears the signals and therefore the turnouts. And once it comes to a stop, it can have the turnouts thrown so that the coal train can get underway. This is another good view from the opposite direction. You can see some of the weathering on the pavement, concrete barriers and booth. Also there are the switchers for Global 3, 2 former Southern Pacific locomotives that have been patched for the Union Pacific. The westbound coal train with empties can now continue west on the Geneva subdivision. I've been very happy with the way the weathering turned out. The only thing I might do a little bit is maybe take some sandpaper to the pavement. I think the cracks are maybe a little too strong. So I might take some sandpaper to it and just kind of dull out the cracks a little bit, but I'm going to wait and see how it grows on me over the next few weeks and months. As the coal train continues to pull away from Global 3, the switchers can go ahead and latch on to the intermodal train that has just arrived. Now, if the locomotives are kind of jumping right there, a crazy thing happened while I was going towards the intermodal train. One of the locomotives just decided to switch directions. So it's kind of moving back and forth there because they were fighting each other, going in different directions. So I fixed it on my throttle, and now they're moving together in the same direction. Not really sure why that happened or what was going on, but it was easily rectified, and we're now back to operations. With the switchers connected on, they can keep the air going on the train while the mainline locomotives uncouple. And now the switchers can pull the train away from the road locomotives. There's been a lot of questions about where I got all the concrete barriers for Global 3. There were two main sources. One source is the BLMA concrete barriers that came in packs of 12. And I think I had 3 or 4 sets of those. They are no longer available at this time, as we see the road locomotives heading to the engine facilities. The other source I had was from Shapeways. There's a Shapeways group on Facebook, and they were very helpful in directing me to the right spot to get some of these concrete barriers, and they turned out very nice. So I got the concrete barriers on Shapeways, and then also some from the BLMA. At some point in time, Atlas, I think, will probably come out with the BLMA concrete barriers at some point. All right, the locomotives have pulled forward past the lead turnout into the engine facilities. It seems maybe a little odd to have a major train facility out in the middle of the country with cornfields and farms and so forth, but that's exactly how it is at Global 3 on the outskirts of Rochelle, Illinois. These 3 locomotives, by the way, are Fox Valley Gevos. A couple of nice features of the Gevos is the handrails. The end handrails are painted white, which is nice, and then all the steps up to the walkways are painted with the white stripes also. So all the safety painting has been done at the factory, which is looks very nice and a lot more detailed than what you might get from Cotto. They also run extremely well. I'm hoping that Fox Valley will soon be able to come out with some more locomotives at some point. If they're listening, my request is for SD40-2s with ditch lights. All right, now before the train can depart again, there is some picking up and dropping off of cars. And so here you can see the switch list for this particular train. Starts in Tacoma, Washington, ends up in Ashland Yard in Chicago, and then it does have a stop at Global 3. And there are 3 cars that we're going to be setting out. You have 2 SP cars and a DTTX car. The SP cars are 5 wells. The DTTX car is a 3 well. And so first of all, you can see us dropping off the 2 SP cars. the 513940 and the 513960. Now, sometimes it's hard to find these cars, so one thing I do on the switch list is to put a little bit of short descriptors on them. So if you can see, I have blue/white APL for one, brown Triton for the other. Just kind of describes the containers. Now, that's not prototypical for switch lists that you might have, but it definitely makes it helpful for us humans on model train layouts as we try to operate. Especially in N scale, as it's sometimes hard to see the road numbers on the cars. While we're switching cars here, I'm have a couple of trains running around the layout, so we'll see this double stack go by a couple times. And then I also have a special surprise. There's been some requests for excursion trains, so I have an excursion train that's also running at this time. So we've dropped off the two SP cars. There's a third one we need to drop off, but it's at the head end of the train. So we'll do that in just a little bit. But now that we've dropped off the two, we need to pick up two. And as you can see, the ones that we need to pick up are the BRAN, the 6303. That's a Pacer train, or Pacer cars, Pacer containers. And then there's the DTTX732211, which has green EMP containers. It's also a Pacer containers. Actually, those two are on the other end. The ones we're picking up on this end are the APLX, which I'm uncoupling right now. Those have blue APL containers on them. And then I'm also going to be picking up the 6301 BRAN Pacer with the Pacer containers. As we see the excursion train, this is a Athearn Challenger pulling a couple of Cotto tenders, an Atlas SD60, which is not the right prototype for that, and then some passenger trains, some passenger cars. Alright, so I got the APLX with the blue APLs, and now I'm latching on to the BRAN 6301 with the Pacer containers. So those are two of the cars that I need to pick up. The excursion train that just went by is one of the few trains I have on the layout that have sound. In fact, it's the only locomotive I have right now that has sound. I might someday get more, but right now I'm not real big on sound, especially in N scale. You can hear it's already way past Global 3, and you'll hear it for quite a while until it gets all the way in the other end of the basement. All right, so the three BRAN wells with the Pacer containers, that's a Cotto unit. All right, so the well cars, those are Maxi 4s, and the containers are also with from Cotto. Like those all came together. And then the APLX, those are really old. One of the first container cars to come out at N scale, and I think they were made by a company called Interrail, if I remember correctly. So the detail isn't that great on them, but they're my very first intermodal well cars, and so I kind of am a little bit nostalgic about them and plan to keep them on the layout for quite a while. The containers on them, the APL containers are from Cotto, and I think the Evergreen are from Cotto also. Alright, so I dropped off the two SP well cars and picked up the 2 sets of cars that I needed, and all I need to do yet is put back this one that I'm not picking up. So that's a set of 3 wells that were in the yard, and I'm just kind of setting it back. This is another good shot of the weathering done on the pavement. You can see a little bit of the piggy packer there. I forget which company made that. That was given to me by a friend that operated on the layout up in Rochelle. It's very nice of him to donate that. All right, so we've done all the work that needs to be done on this end. And so we'll switch over to the other end. See if I can do this without shaking the camera too much. So when a train comes into Global 3, we in normal cases work the train from both ends. Neither drill track on one side or the other is long enough to pull the entire train. So you have to work one end on the cars that you need to work on that are close to one end, and then switch over to the other end of the train and use a new set of locomotives to drop off and pick up cars for this end of the train. So the Cotton Belt Southern Pacific units that were switching on the other end of Global 3 were Fox Valley Jeep 60s. And on this end, we have a couple of Atlas switchers. One is a B23, and the other one is a Jeep 40, and both by Atlas. Those are the only 2 Atlas locomotives that I have on the layout. That I use. I do have that one on the excursion train, but that's a dummy. Just goes along for the ride. And I kind of pulled out kind of quickly there. You can hear the excursion train coming by again. So that SD60 that's kind of going along for the ride, that's an Atlas locomotive that just ran like crap. I got tired of messing with it, so I just took the motor out and the gears out and just kind of pulling it along as a dummy. I think the real excursion trains have GEVO or SD70 ACE of some sort, a much more modern unit, but that's what I have there for now. All right, on this end we have one set of wells to drop off, the DTTX 765 483, and as you can see, it has blue UMAX with other green containers, and we see the stack train going through again. So we have to drop off that set of 3. So the yellow wells there with the green hub group containers on it, that's just about to be covered up. Those are made by Deluxe Innovations. That's a 5 well set. I've had those for quite a while. The 2 SP sets of 5 that were dropped off on the other end of Global 3, those are also by Deluxe Innovations. And the car that just got dropped off there, that's another Cottle Maxi 4. Now here I kind of had some indecision on what I wanted to do next, so I kind of go back and forth. No, I don't want to do that. Let me think here. Okay, I'm going to go back this way. I decided to just, before I did anything else, to go ahead and put these 2 sets of cars back on the train. So I set off all 3 of the ones that needed to be set off. 2 of them on the other end, and then just this one set here. And all I have left to do is pick up the 2 cars, a Pacer containers on a BRAN car, and then a DTTX set that have some green EMP and Pacer containers. So I have to just pick up a couple more. But as I said, the drill tracks are not that long, so I decided to go ahead and put these back before I pull out the 2 last cars that I need to pick up. The pick that I use, I made from a cheap plastic paintbrush. I pulled out the bristles and then just put in a piece of black styrene that was cut to a point that's flat and then cut to a point. It works quite well for an uncoupling tool. All right, now it looks like I'm going back to get the car that I just dropped off. But the 2 cars that I need to pick up are on the other side of this car, so I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. A couple to them are the 2 that we need to be picked up. The first one is the DTTX732211. That's another Kato Maxi 5. And then we have another Pacer containers on a BRAN. I have all 4 sets of those Pacer stack trains. And we'll go ahead and uncouple this. Here's a quick look at the setup that I've been using to videotape this operations. It's using the Hohem gimbal, and it really comes in handy because it allows me to get out over the layout, which is real important here at the intermodal yard. Alright, once we get these 2 sets of well cars onto the train, we'll be completed. Where we we set out 3 sets of cars. And I'm kind of aligning the coupler there. We set out 3 sets of cars and picked up 4 sets of cars. Which means this train is going to be longer leaving than what it was when it entered. All right, we'll go ahead and uncouple here. Oh, let's try it again. Yep, I got it. And the last thing we need to do is to put these cars back. You can hear the excursion train coming around. I have another excursion train with the Kato FEF 844 locomotive and another set of excursion passenger cars. So I have two excursion trains. We'll probably at some point in time get a third one. The Union Pacific has 3 main excursion locomotives. The 3985 is a Challenger, which is running right now. There's also an FEF, which is a 484 locomotive. That's a 844 is the road number for that locomotive. And then they also have a big boy, which is the most recent one. That's the one I don't have yet. I'm kind of waiting for Cottle to come out with the big boy. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you always have a great time enjoying the greatest hobby in the world, model railroading, especially in N scale. Have a great day. Take care.